welcome everybody to the Tyler Werner Show. Coming off of a Week 3 win by the Philadelphia Eagles. Quite frankly, a win that was pretty much required to keep the 2015 season alive. So, I mean, it's obviously, again, they started 0-2 and they kind of weren't supposed to in the first place. So, it's obviously it was a must-win situation for the Eagles, and quite frankly, I guess as Tony Bruno would say, the Eagles got off the schneid this week, and are no longer winless. So, good. Well, we'll talk about it. Obviously, coming in this game again, I was last week or whatever, after the just flat effort out of the Eagles offense to not generate anything, I was very unoptimistic about the Eagles taking on the Jets after the Jets just totally destroyed the Colts last week on defense, and Andrew Luck was turning the ball over left and right, and this defense, especially the secondary of the Jets, has been playing very well. But certainly it was, with the tides of the season, with the Eagles back up against the wall, facing a possible 0-3 start, which would just be completely unacceptable, and a means to essentially start playing taps for with only 3 games into the 2015 NFL season for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's just no way. And the way the Jets were riding high, maybe overachieving a little bit to start the season, it was time, it was time for things to change. It was time for the Eagles to get off the schneid, and it was time for the Jets to get handed their first loss of the season. Now, it didn't come out without its, I guess, trials and tribulations. Mainly in the second half, without its typical nervousness that we Eagles fans have to endure a lot of times, when it's like, oh man, are they really about to blow a 24-point lead here? At least that's what was going through my mind throughout the fourth quarter, especially on more than one occasion. But we'll go through things a little bit here. Obviously, heading into this game, the Eagles, they were missing they were missing DeMarco Murray. And so, obviously, Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles, we knew Darren Sproles was going to be a factor in this. We knew that the game plan had to be a little more geared towards Darren Sproles. Obviously, they're going to have to rely on the playmaker he is, and perhaps not just but on special teams. And certainly enough, Darren Sproles delivered in the form of a punt return for a touchdown, where he broke like 3 or 4 tackles, and also a nice rushing touchdown as well.
There you go, Sproles! There you go, Sproles!
Yeah, so as Nick Foles once said last season when he was mic'd up and played with Darren Sproles here in Philadelphia, there you go, Sproles. Sproles continues to, here and there, he continues to be a game-breaking guy like that. Every now and then, he makes great plays that, quite frankly, perhaps win the Eagles the game like that. And there were a couple games early on last season where he was a key factor. We can't expect that every game, obviously. But certainly, he was a key factor at help getting this Eagles offense going in the first half. Again, the Eagles offense, it's predicated on the run game. And DeMarco Murray not being in this game was obviously a factor heading into this game. We got to gear it. Ryan Matthews is essentially going to be the number 1 back this game. And Ryan Matthews had a decent game, but first and foremost, the offensive line had a decent game. They stepped it up. They were talking throughout the week about returning to fundamentals. And, I heard Jason Kelsey on with Angelo Cataldi on WIP, and Chip Kelly himself saying it, in press conferences and throughout the week. We got to get back to fundamentals, or whatever that means. Whatever that means. It's fundamentals to me. That's subconscious, common sense there, I guess. But whatever they did, whether it was getting back to fundamentals or just creating bigger running holes and running lanes at times, they were able to do that. And Ryan Matthews did a decent job. Now, at least getting some production in Sproles and in the passing game out in the flats. Good stuff, mainly in the first half we're talking about. And surely enough, there were a couple, dropped potential touchdown passes by both Darren Sproles and Ryan Matthews. Matthews, again, he did what he had to do this game. He was pretty productive. But he doesn't have the greatest hands in the world. He's dropped several balls, just out on a swing pattern or something, several times this season. And I don't know why. And furthermore, he was running with the ball kind of outside a lot, and I think that kind of factored into a fumble later on in the game where things would get interesting. But, at least the Eagles' offensive line here, they stepped it up. They improved this week, that is, and that's fortunate. I didn't even mention Sam Bradford yet. But Sam Bradford, he wasn't relied upon really too much in this game. Nor was the receiving core or really anybody. This game, again, it was about Darren Sproles. It was about Ryan Matthews, the offensive line, getting the running game going. And that's fine. This Eagles team, heading in this week, again, I said last week, this secondary with the New York Jets, with, Darrelle Revis, Antonio Cromartie, the secondary is a bit of a nightmare. Those guys matching up against, Riley Cooper or Miles Austin? Those guys, both of which were pretty invisible this game. I don't even think Cooper caught one ball, and yet for some reason he's a starting wide receiver here on this football team. Now, Josh Huff was out, and heading into this game after last week's debacle and just coming out flat on the offense against the Dallas Cowboys at home, mind you, Josh Huff basically came out and, I don't know, maybe perhaps his most productive effort, maybe the best thing he's done, maybe the best thing he's done his entire career so far for the Philadelphia Eagles, was telling Chip Kelly that it seemed as though the Cowboys were on to the play calling for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that they were knowing, or at least had a general idea of what the Cowboys, or the Cowboys at least had a general idea on defense of what the Eagles' offense was about to do, and that points towards one-dimensional, too simplistic, whatever, play calling of the Philadelphia Eagles, and other teams catching on to that. And certainly maybe there's some truth to that. But the Eagles' offense, this week, they were able to get the running game going, which is fine. They played to their strengths in that first half, for the most part. They ran some swing patterns out. They didn't really, go long or anything. They didn't put too much pressure on Sam Bradford, and that's, at least for the sake of this game, I guess that's fine. They didn't really attack too much in the pass. They were able to get the running game established in the first half. Relied on some special teams points from Darren Sproles. The guy, 32, he still does it with his legs. He's still a speed demon. Merrill Reese called him Mickey Mouse or something, or, whatever you want to call him. It's, Sproles still gets it done from time to time like that. But again, I mean, the problem is that you're not always going to have that. You're not always going to have special teams plays like that. You're not always going to have a running game that goes as smoothly as, you're not going to have Ryan Matthews run 100 yards every time, every game. Or when DeMarco Murray comes back, same deal. I mean, geez, we got, DeMarco Murray only has 9 rushing yards so far. And the Jets, they don't have the greatest front seven in the world, so they're not, but you face, they don't play Denver this year, but you play Denver and their front seven. I mean, forget running the ball like that. And again, this wasn't even a great outing running the ball. Ryan Matthews, he had some good rushes. They opened up some holes. That's fine. I think the main strength of the Jets' defense is their secondary, obviously. So, the story of this game, for the most part, was the Eagles, were they going to be able to get the running game going for a change without DeMarco Murray? Was this offensive line going to step it up and get things going? Because they're not going to rely on Sam Bradford yet. Still early on here. Still, I don't know, not totally in sync with some receivers. And again, Riley Cooper, Miles Austin, the rookie Nelson Aguilar, they're not going to be beating Darrelle Revis or Antonio Cromartie. It's just, that's such a mismatch. It's not even funny. So, they did what they had to do, mainly in the first half. And as ironic as it would be, the Eagles scored enough points in the first half that in the second half they didn't need to score any points, and they were able to hang on and win the game. That's basically the headline here. The Eagles hang on to win the game. Because you got to be fair. The Eagles, as good as it feels maybe for the Eagles, they won a game here. They're not 0-3. The season's not dead yet. The Cowboys lost their first game, and maybe without Tony Romo, obviously, without, for a few more weeks, Dez Bryant, a month or so, there's a chance maybe for the Cowboys to take a step back, fall behind the 8 ball a little bit here, for things to change. Who knows? But that's not the point right now. That the NFC East could possibly be up for grabs now, as some would say. That's not the point right now. It's about the Eagles and what, the idea for them to be was a team that could, that should win this division, not with 9 wins or something like that, not with 8 or 9 wins, which could perhaps be the winning number this year, but for the Eagles to win a playoff game and show some progress. Show some efficiency, and I don't quite think they showed that necessarily. This wasn't a complete effort, let's put it that way. Again, solid first half. The defense, again, for the most part in this game, the defense did what they had to do. Obviously, they picked Fitz. They got pressure on Fitzpatrick, which I'm not surprised. Guys like Brandon Marshall, they made some stupid plays that, that attempted lateral at one point and just stuff like that costed them. Fitzpatrick, again, you get pressure on him, he's going to throw the ball somewhere silly, and surely enough, the Eagles picked him off 3 times. They forced, one of the Jets' strengths has been their the turnover ratio. The Eagles' defense did what they had to do, and I wasn't surprised. Fitzpatrick, he's only going to be solid, rock steady for so long, and then you get the right kind of pressure on him, and he's going to turn the ball over, and that's what happened against the Eagles in this game. So again, last week, obviously the problem was not the defense with the Dallas Cowboys. They did what they had to do. At the end of the game, when it didn't matter, Byron Maxwell just seemed to give up, and that's unfortunate, especially when you're getting paid $8 million a year or whatever you're getting paid. But again, that's the kind of money you get, I guess, when you're supposedly the best quarterback or cornerback, I should say, in free agency, and you're a desperate team like the Eagles that needs desperate help at cornerback position. I guess that's what happens. But not too much to complain about this week about Byron Maxwell or the rest of the Eagles defense for the most part. There were a couple drives. I mean, there were a couple silly things that happened on defense. Like, I guess as we move into the second half here, where, I mean, again, it's mainly, the Eagles offense, they were starting to play conservatively, and this goes, that's kind of on Chip Kelly. I mean, the fact that all they could do was run the ball and that they were trying to start milking the clock and whatnot, it just goes to show you, it's like Chip Kelly, he has no faith in Riley Cooper and his receivers, and, who would? They were, again, this game, it was Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles pretty much all day. That's what they were relying on this game. They couldn't rely on one wide receiver on this team. And that's, obviously, that's quite the shame. And quite frankly, it could have almost cost them the game. But again, the Eagles defense, they gave the offense plenty of opportunities, and especially in the second half. They were picking the ball off. They were forcing fumbles or whatever was happening. The several turnovers that happened where the Eagles offense had a chance to capitalize. And sometimes, in the second half especially, they were coming up short. They weren't getting first downs. They weren't diverse enough. I mean, maybe the Jets, they made some adjustments on defense that they had to make. And maybe it was a case of, the Eagles, they're just running the ball now. They're trying to run out the clock or whatever, wear off time, and it wasn't working too well. And, obviously when that happens, those turnovers that the Eagles were creating, the Eagles defense was creating, doesn't quite, I guess, amount to anything as far as what the offense was able to then not do either. So it's just some, little things like that on offense. And furthermore, like Brandon Graham, I mean, the guy who said that he wants to break the all-time sack record this season, who doesn't have a sack yet this season. He wants 2 sacks a game as an average, 32 sacks all season, I guess you could say. There's a play when Ryan Fitzpatrick is running the ball, for instance, and, a chance where, if you stop them short, they probably punt the ball or kick I guess they were in field goal range, perhaps, so maybe they kick a field goal instead, the Jets, if they don't get the first down. Well, there's the one play where Fitzpatrick runs it, and Brandon Graham, who's Mr. I'm going to get 32 sacks this year or whatever, he grabs him and he rolls him over across the first down marker, wherever Fitzpatrick essentially needs to get the first down. And I watched that play, and then they showed the replay of it because Fitzpatrick's knee was never down before he rolled him, and I'm just thinking, why would Mr. I want 32 sacks this season, a guy who should be all about, tackling for losses and whatnot, why would you roll him forward like that? When you could easily just bring him down. Maybe he wasn't thinking about that in real time like that, but maybe you look back at it, and maybe when you're practicing tackling or just whatever, just maybe have that in the back of your mind, as you grab him, do what you can to bring him down, obviously, and not, maybe, I don't know, not be directionally challenged or something and roll them forward past the first down marker. I mean, that was just, kind of something essentially that kept the drive going for the Jets that essentially ended up in a touchdown. I don't know, maybe maybe think about that in the future. Brandon Graham. I don't know.
Why are you so stupid?
But so that was one of those plays where it's like, what are you doing? I mean, again, the Jets, they did some. Brandon Marshall, the one lateral or whatever when they. I think it was the fact that the referees ruled it initially as a a fumble or whatever, a loose ball before his elbow touchdown. I think was fortunate ruling there for the Eagles, because had it been ruled the other way, who knows? That could have, there might not have been enough evidence to overturn it, whichever way it was called. So that's what. So again, it's just like there were some silly plays made in this game. Again, silly throws from Fitzpatrick, several turnovers, and especially in the second half, and the Eagles didn't capitalize on anything on offense. And again, more silly plays. Essentially, a chance at the end there for the Eagles to run the clock out, and essentially, it was just one of those things where, what was it, Jim Nantz and Burkhardt were saying how, there's still like 3.5 minutes left to go, and they're saying how this is good. The Eagles are, they're going to win today. They're not going to be winless anymore. And a lot of people were questioning, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, the game's not over yet. Let's not, break out the Pinot Noir or the champagne or whatever yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. And, again, because the Jets got the ball back a couple of times. And fortunately, the Eagles' defense was able to hang on. There was, a much-needed turnover, an interception, whatnot. And then, the Eagles have the ball again, whatever. They don't do anything. The Jets get there's an onside kick. The Eagles don't do anything. They got to punt the ball. It's like one of these things where, it's like, the Jets, they got another chance. When you would have thought, okay, maybe the Eagles, they could have put this game away by now, and they didn't. So it's just like, it was like pulling teeth there at the end of this game. Can the Eagles hang on? Can they put this game away? Are they gonna choke away what was a 24-0 lead? Well, fortunately, they benefited. Essentially, what ended it was a stupid defensive hold by the New York Jets. Or not even a hold, but grabbing the face mask. If there's one good thing that Riley Cooper did in this game, since I don't think he caught any passes whatsoever, it's that he was in there and he let a New York Jet, for whatever reason, he let a New York Jet just grab his face mask or whatever and just push it up and for several seconds, and essentially what would have been maybe could have been another punt by the Eagles, instead a first down, fresh set of downs, and essentially the Eagles could take knees. Maybe that's probably right there the greatest contribution you'll see out of Riley Cooper all season long, right there. You want to talk about Riley Cooper making plays that are going to seal games. That's probably the best you'll get right there. Him just getting his face mask, pushed up in front of his eyeballs and whatnot. That's probably the greatest thing Riley Cooper's ever done here this season. That's probably the greatest thing we'll see out of him all season, I guess. No, this is the point. That's just the point about this game. Yeah, it was a win. The Eagles are not 0-3. That's obviously 1-2. Obviously a big deal. Saves the season for now, I guess. it is what it is, whatever. The bottom line is they still they didn't play a complete game. I mean, as nice as the first half might have been, I mean, it was decent on offense. Obviously, they got some things going. They're still a bit one-dimensional against a team like that. You know, other defenses are going to play down the road, or other teams that you're going to have to beat. You're going to have to be more diverse than what you're going to have to do more than things that, swing passes out to Darren Sproles and Ryan Matthews. And, of course, they can't afford to drop the ball like they were occasionally, especially Ryan Matthews, which he's made a bad habit out of doing this season. And whether DeMarco Murray is in there or not, they're going to have to be more diverse in the passing game. I mean, Bradford's going to have to. There's going to be more that's going to be expected of Bradford in bigger games to beat better teams, more proven teams than perhaps the New York Jets. And that's the bottom line. I mean, and with what they have right now, I just don't know if you can project still the same kind of tone that they set in the preseason. Whatever expectations that most people had, including myself, 11-5, 12-4. So some people were even going 13-3. Some people were going possible Super Bowl appearance or even champions. I mean, it was great that they won and all, and maybe it's encouraging that this division might be somewhat up for grabs now. It might be a weak division again this year, like it was a couple of years ago. But still, at the end of the day, there's still a lot of question marks here with this Eagles team. There's still a lot of unsolved mystery when it comes to this team. And the Washington Redskins, I mean, it's a big division game this week. Could decide a lot. Who knows? I think it's a winnable game. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins out there, and I mean, I guess the starting quarterback. No Deshaun Jackson, it looks like, this time around. Looks like, it looks like it's a chance for the Eagles to win a second straight game here. Maybe within the division now, win an important game and get to 2-2. I don't know, maybe a chance for them to continue to build upon what they're able to get going here with the running game, the offensive line. Maybe open things up a little more with the passing game, but again, that's hard when you have Miles Austin and Riley Cooper out there to catch passes on third downs. I mean, I just don't. Before the trade deadline, I mean, make some kind of move. I mean, they got guys. They pay people to do that, obviously. And somebody, I mean, Chip's got, whether it's Chip listening to others, I mean, it's got to do something about the wide receiving core. I mean, Josh Huff, who, continues to be a question mark anyways. He's hurt. Riley Cooper and Miles Austin, they're pretty much no-shows any given Sunday. Nelson Aguilar, he's got potential to be a good wide receiver, I guess, but not right now. He's got rookie growing pains, and he just doesn't quite look ready. Other than that, you got Jordan Matthews, and, when he can get out in the field, Zach Ertz in the tight end core make some good plays here and there, but other than that, you're relying on your running game. Maybe you're relying on Darren Sproles lining up as a wide receiver and whatnot. Chip Kelly's mentioned it in his press conference. Which will, maybe in future as we move towards the Washington Redskins. How game planning. I mean, Chip Kelly's been mentioning wants to use Darren Sproles a little more, perhaps, and that's great. But maybe it'd be nice if they had more guys like Darren Sproles, and it's not just one Darren Sproles, but if they had wide receivers who were, or at least one dynamic wide receiver. I mean, Jordan Matthews again, he's decent. He's dropped a couple key passes, unfortunately, this season, which we don't need to go back to right now. But still, Riley Cooper and Miles Austin, they're just kind of dead weight right now. Aguilar can be decent someday, maybe. Huff, I don't know. And he's hurt right now anyways. Wide receiving core, they could obviously use some help. And that's, again, Sam Bradford. I mean, this new quarterback here in this new system, I mean, he's not Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Maybe he's, perhaps skill-wise, pedigree-wise, he's an improvement over Nick Foles. He's perhaps better than Mark Sanchez, what you got at the second string spot, but still, who's Bradford got to throw to? He's not, again, Bradford, he's not an elite quarterback. So I guess it'd be a start if he had some better guys to throw to on these intermediate and deeper routes, which deep passes they're not really doing too much of. They don't really have the deep threat right now. So good win, I guess. The Eagles hang on to win. They survive. And people joke all they want, and see that's the thing. I mean, if the Eagles would have just kept it going in the second half and more convincingly beat the Jets, maybe blew them out of the water a little more, then maybe it's like maybe they're a little more like what we thought they were supposed to be. But with the way the way they just can't seem to put a game away, they can't play a complete game or whatever. They have a great first half on offense, and then the second half on offense, they don't do anything. It just continues to be a question mark, and it was one of the reasons that brought upon the whole thing with, the Eagles, they were able to hang on this week, and surely enough, it was the day after the Pope came to visit. So whether people want to, I guess, put some stock in the Pope's visit here. I mean, to Philadelphia, maybe helping the Eagles get their. I guess go ahead and do that. But
oh God, ease our suffering in this our moment of great despair.
As sure as. Quite frankly, I'm sure after that loss last week, between the devastating loss of the Cowboys and this game, I'm sure Eagles fans had all kinds of prayers and hopeful blessings coming from the Pope as he visited Philadelphia this past weekend. And I guess as far as wins and losses goes, the Eagles get a win here. And I guess to some extent, some prayers have been answered by the Pope and by this Philadelphia Eagles team. But still, I think the bottom line is the Eagles, they got some work to do. They still got, and they still got question marks on this team that at this point still, to me, they don't make this team any better than mediocre still, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Defense, again, good. My hats off to the defense for the most part. They did what they had to do. And Jets were missing a few guys, but so were the Eagles on defense. I mean, again, I don't have too much to complain about. I mean, Eric Rowe stepped up out there as a rookie. He had the end of the preseason, he didn't look too sharp at all. He stepped out here and made some plays. Great interception. good coverage. Nolan Carroll, same thing. Walter Thurman, a nice interception. Perhaps he could, out on the sideline, perhaps he could be a better wide receiver than Riley Cooper and Miles Austin. I don't know. But good work on him. Jordan Hicks came in, stepped it up. As Michael Kendricks was out this game. And of course, Kiko Alonso. So, again, defense, Billy Davis, we're not sitting here today complaining too much about the defense, at least for now. Because, well, they're not playing any, New England Patriots or Green Bay Packer offenses right now in quarterback. So, that's part of it, obviously. But for now, the thing is the Eagles' offense, the story, getting them going. And getting back to maybe this innovative or possibly innovative and 30+ points a game level that many people thought this Eagles offense was going to be capable of. And normally you get that amount of points. Normally that more times than not, certainly that's enough to win football games in this league. So the question is, do they maybe roll with this, maybe build off of this, move to 2-2 and beat the Washington Redskins? We'll talk about it on the Tyler Werner Show. We can talk about other things NFL. Of course, as always, right here on the Tyler Werner Show, on the YouTube channel, and of course on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyber-stalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyber-stalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted!